Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing tonight? Welcome to the Crimson News Network, where we're going to be covering a couple of the major things that are going on in the anime world tonight. Particularly on the docket, we have there are a couple of season 2 announcements that I did want to go over. One that I didn't expect and sort of talk about some of that. There is the an article from Bounding into Comics, which is covering a little bit of something that one of Akira Toriyama's former editors seems to have said. And that is along the lines of Dragon Ball Super should have been a Vegeta story and that Daima is shitty. The second of which I do agree with. The first of which I don't quite know. There are a couple of dumb takes that circulated around the internet this week, with Think Before You Sleep returning to Freerun to spew more of his fucking nonsense. Someone called the Weeb Crew has gone and clipped some out of context stuff here. We'll be going over a clip from that. What else do we have? Just the Bocchi the Rock stuff after that. So we had an interview with the director, or not the director, the screenwriter for Bocchi the Rock. Come and sorry, let me organize my thoughts here and say this correctly. So we had the screenwriter Erika Yoshida of Bocchi the Rock come out with a interesting interview this week, and it has caused a lot of buzz because in it she gives the reason for why there is less fan service within the anime than there is in the manga. And there are some interesting reasons there, and I have my own thoughts as to why that is. So, without further ado, let's get into tonight. So, hello to Muffler Tape. Good to see you here. Rolando A. Ramirez. We go into war? Potentially. Biggles Met says CNN is an isekai. I wish I got hit by Truck Coon. Jeremy Turner, Vending Machine Coon Season 3. Dear God, don't make me suffer that. Please do not bring that evil here. And Marcel, hello there. General Kenobi. The best isekai. Anyway, so before we start, there are a couple of things I do want to talk about rather than just the straight news. So first of all, I have this. My free-run Nendroid finally came. I ordered this a while ago, and I thought shipping was going to get canceled on it because of tariffs. That's a thing. The Good Smile had said that they probably weren't going to fulfill pre-orders due to tariffs. However, it seems that my number one waifu here is now in the States and is now in my hands. There are a bunch of other pieces that come with this, but I have them off to the side. And the briefcase that she actually has her like little briefcase and everything. It opens up, you can put stuff inside it, and then the little heart from Blowing the Kiss has its own stand. I wanna get all the free-run Nendoroids because I mean it's free-run. Come on. It's free-run. I have to have them. Anyway, the other thing that is much more important than me just showing off a new waifu toy, is the fact that I'm going to have to move animated. So, for those of you who tune in to my usual Saturday live streams, I'm not going to be able to do one this Saturday. Why is that? Because I'm going to be in Chicago at a concert. And that's probably going to be all night. I got to leave at like 2:30. And the like doors open at 6. So I am not going to be around to, one, watch a lot of the anime that I normally would, and two, even do the live stream, because I probably won't be back until like 10 or 11 o'clock. It's a 4-act concert, like an hour and a fucking half from where I live. So it's just not going to happen. However, I do want to keep up with this. So I'm just going to move it back a day. Instead of doing it 8 o'clock p.m. Central Saturday, it'll be 8 o'clock p.m. Central Sunday. And for some of you who are, sports ball people that may interfere with your sports ball viewing, sorry, but that's just gonna kind of have to be how it is. You can watch the replay if you really want to. I don't really think much will change, but we're gonna be finished. I do want to keep up with things because I like doing the show. So that's how it's gonna be. Animated this week is getting moved to Sunday, and then of course, don't forget upcoming Wednesday. There is Fictionology Dawn to Dawn. And then next Saturday, the 28th or 27th. 24th is Wednesday, 25th, 27th. Next Saturday, the 27th, end of the season wrap. So anyone who, is a regular member of the chat or whatever who wants to come in and have some fun talking about this season's anime and what we think about everything, that is the night where we will be talking about all that stuff. That is our open mic night. But with that said, we need to get to the single most important piece of news. Clevitas has officially been announced for season 2. And this is something that I had initially not thought was going to be possible. And the reason was when I looked into trying to get my hands on the source material for this, because I like this story, I really want physicals so that I can keep reading ahead because I didn't want to wait for a season 2. I think the story is very good. It has me hooked. All I found when I went looking was a webtoon. And the webtoon only had stuff illustrated and colored up to about where the first season ends. So I was really disappointed. I'm like, oh man, there isn't a whole lot of this. Well, turns out this series has been running for quite a while in Japan, and it doesn't have much of an official adaptation. I did manage to find on mangapark.io stands of the whole series insofar as I can tell. So I guess that's a link that I can really quickly just pop over here. Of course, click on the link at your own discretion. But that is where I found the Clevitas manga. If you are interested in reading further. However, there isn't really a good amount of official material adapted. I have not seen any physical volumes done. It's kind of unfortunate that there aren't any physicals because I really like this story. But I am glad to see that it looks like there are 10 books in this series so far, and we've maybe gotten through 3 of them. So it looks like we could get a couple more seasons of this series. Very easily, very quickly. So Clevitas season 2, one of this season's underappreciated but fantastic anime, absolutely deserved. Insofar as the second season goes. Last episode was great. Overall amazing anime. I still need to watch that last episode. Either way, this is one that just I'm really glad to see this news. This absolutely made being alive this long worth it. Not really, but we'll go with that because the emphasis on it is just kind of funny. So this one gets an adaptation that it deserves, unlike this next one. Reborn as a vending machine. Now I wander the dungeon depths. TV anime season 3 production confirmed. Great. Fucking great. Absolutely fucking awesome. Where is the clip? No. There we go. There's the clip. I do not like this series. I'm just going to be honest with you, and I'm going to be, changing up how I fucking rank this series in the coming weeks. But to sort of elaborate on it, it was like fun as like a binge at first. Like, oh, this is something really stupid, and it's a little bit better than what I expected. It's not quite trash isekai. The longer it is dragged on, the less and less I have been interested in it. At this point, I'm kind of sick of the gimmick. I don't really care. I'm ready to move on. That's just my personal opinion. That being said, I actually don't think that this thing is like absolutely horrendous. Its production quality and the actual treatment of the material has been pretty good. Insofar as it being a bit like zany with its creativity, I respect that. It just doesn't end up being the kind of thing that I really want to watch a third season of. I've kind of had my fill of it, and now I'm ready to move on. I've tried it. I sampled it. I think I've had enough. So to those of you who are fans of this series, well, here you go. Season 3 of Reborn as a Vending Machine is officially in the works. Oh, that's how I should have fun with the show. Is there a sex toy vending machine that'll make him popular? Sporking is happy. He is going to change to the strap-on vending machine and get it. Oh, God. Oh, God. Please do not bring that evil here. Do not. Anyway, so those are like pretty much the announcements that I have insofar as anime and stuff is concerned. However, like I said, there are a couple of other topics that we will be getting into. And I actually don't know how long this stream tonight will run, but I'm going to try and at least go for an hour with it. Anyway, let's start here by bringing this up. So, this comes from Bounding into Comics. Now, however you feel about it, there is, I do get a little bit of information out of here that's at least worth talking every now and again. But this comes to us via Spencer Bachuli. Akira Toriyama's former editor says Dragon Ball Super should have been a Vegeta story. Daima is shitty. And now I agree. Like I said, I agree with that last part. Daima is shitty. I don't like Daima. It basically has like a few really good moments, and everything else about it is fucking suck ass. And everyone who tried to fit it into fucking canon is a retard. This show does not fit into any Dragon Ball canon whatsoever. And if you think that it actually works with Dragon Ball canon, you're basically saying that Akira Toriyama is a suck ass writer who can't keep track of his fucking canon. Which I do think Toriyama struggles a little bit when it comes to writing serious stories because he is a gag writer. But I will not deny the influence of his work. Anyway, moving on. So, what does this article have to say? In lobbing a Molotov cocktail into the ever-raging flames of the series fandom and fighting, Akira Toriyama's early Shonen Jump editor, Kazuhiko Torishima, has admitted to having less than negative opinions on both the recent Dragon Ball Daima and the non-Vegeta-centric Dragon Ball Super. A few spoilers there for anyone. Torishima, who oversaw the late mangaka's entire Dr. Slump run and the first half of his work on Dragon Ball up to the Saiyan saga, before serving as Shonen Jump's editor-in-chief from 1961 to 2000, or 1996 to 2001. I'm dyslexic, can't read dates. He forgot Launch existed. He forgot Saiyans had tails. Hmm. Yeah, Akira Toriyama's storytelling wasn't really like very straightforward, but it's not something I think he ever really had to concern himself with when doing something like Dr. Slump, which was much more of a comedy. Anyway, that's a different topic. Shared his criticisms regarding the current state of the Shonen Battle franchise during his Dragon Quest creator his and Dragon Quest creator Yuji Hoри's latest segment for the Yubo and Mashirito Kosoko broadcasting station radio show. As hosted by the pair every fourth Sunday night of the month in service of sharing their opinions on the latest ongoings of the Japanese video game and manga industries. Hello from... Oh, this is... Sorry, I got a little bit of a cough. I loved the man, but he let me be 100% honest. He fucked shit up a lot. Yeah. No, I think a lot of people do give Akira Toriyama credit for being a much better writer than he actually is. But I also do admit that the guy created something absolutely iconic with Dragon Ball. Something that has, without a doubt, had a huge influence on manga and anime. Ooh, I kind of want that Roxy figure. I'm sorry, just like immediate like neuron activation Roxy figurine. I wonder if there's any good Roxy merch out there. There's probably some real spicy stuff, to be entirely honest. Anyway, that's beside the point. Okay, so as machine translated during the original broadcast by I don't know where this cough came from. By YouTube's auto translation caption system. At present, the archived version of said broadcast does not allow for closed captioning. Torishima first took aim at the current state of Dragon Ball Super manga, declaring that the series was suffering due to series steward and Toriyama's handpicked successor, Toyotaro's lack of talent. Ooh, that's some fucking shots fired. Toyotaro and Dragon Quest, The Adventure of Dai, Shiba are bad at manga. So basically, Toyotaro and Shibata are bad at manga. The basics aren't up to par. The people in charge of editing these manga don't understand why the pieces are divided, how the eyes are guided, how the angles are handled in the information spread, and so they can't check it. Once it's finished and pictures are in, they think it's a manga. From here, he turned his attention toward basically to kind of like interpret what he's saying here. He's saying that the people editing this manga don't know how to actually like do good editing on a manga. They think that just by slapping a bunch of things in, that it makes a manga. He's saying that they're amateurs. From here, he turned his attention toward Goku and company's anime outings, first declaring it would have been better to do a Vegeta story than Dragon Ball Super. And then Dragon Ball Daima is a shitty anime. Daima ga kuso anime. Holy crap. Okay. It would be noted that despite Torishima having served as the legendary mangaka's editor for the early half of his shonen career, he and Toriyama had a contentious relationship, to say the least. I figured that was going to be the case. I figured that some sort of fuckery was going on. Kind of like he's bitter that Toriyama didn't like him as an editor, so now he's sort of like taking it out post-death. I figured that this was going to be the case, and now I kind of have confirmation. Per a recap of Shonen Jump editor Yu Kondo, who oversaw Dragon Ball from the Saiyan saga up through the Perfect Cell saga, Fuyuto Takeda, who worked with Toriyama from the Cell Game saga on up to the Jocko the Patrolman and Torishima March. And Torishima March appearance on let's see. Okay, all of that fucking gobbledygook I just fucking spewed. Sorry about that. Anyway, during an especially intense period between the end and the start of the year, Toriyama found himself having to work simultaneously on Dragon Ball and a one-shot episode. To make matters worse, Jump required colored chapters to be submitted 2 weeks in advance, forcing authors to work on 2 episodes in parallel. At that time, Toriyama was also suffering from tendonitis and claimed he could no longer draw. Kondo, who was working with him, realized how serious the situation was and decided to speak with Torishima. The three of them met at a cafe to discuss the possibility of adjusting the schedule or canceling one of the 2 projects. During the meeting, Torishima, fully aware of the difficulty, handed Toriyama a pencil and asked him to write his name. When Toriyama managed to do it, Torishima replied, "See, you can draw," putting him in a tough spot when it came to continuing to refuse. Despite his frustration, Toriyama accepted and completed both works on time. Torishima commented that, for him, it was mainly a psychological matter. If Toriyama had been able to write his own name, he was ready to give up and tell Kondo to let it go. It was a gamble, but in the end, it worked, a surprising outcome. Okay, so basically, the guy was tired and didn't really want to go on with the workload that he had, and you were just like, I don't fucking care. Anyway, I kind of felt like that was going to be the case. Like there was going to be some sort of bad blood between them that was inspiring this guy to go and make these comments about Daima being shitty and how Super should have been a Vegeta story. Did he get cucked by Toriyama? Well, I guess we can kind of talk about it. I guess we can kind of say, yeah, a little bit. Anyway, insofar as this goes, I did not like Daima. I thought it kind of fucking sucked. There were a few really good moments to it, but I kind of already gave those thoughts earlier. It doesn't fit into canon. A lot of people wanted it to, pretending like it did, yada, yada, yada. Daima is a completely different continuity. It doesn't make sense to have Daima in continuity because it fucks a whole lot of stuff up. And if Daima is in continuity, then you're basically saying that Toriyama is retarded. Anyway, insofar as Dragon Ball Super should have been a Vegeta story, I have conflicting thoughts about this. Because one, I do like Vegeta as a character. I think that him getting his own series would be really cool. Because one of the things that I find like a little frustrating about the way Vegeta is portrayed in the series is that he is always playing second fiddle to Goku. Like in any sort of fight, it's always Goku who does like the big finishing thing. Vegeta certainly has his cool moments and all that, but like when it comes to when it's the end of the day, it's always coming down to Goku doing things. So giving Vegeta his own series where he's actually able to, be the main character, like he gets the plot armor now, would be cool. Do I think it should have replaced Super? I don't know, because this is just a hypothetical series. And we really do not know what this could have been. Either way, of the two, of Goku and Vegeta, I still prefer to see Vegeta just because I think he's a cooler character. I think he's the cooler character. But insofar as those comments go, I'm not sure I fully agree with, slamming Akira Toriyama post-death as aggressively as this is done. It feels like all of this is really just done out of spite and that there isn't any like substance to it outside of this guy just didn't like Toriyama. But that is probably the least of our worries for the night. Because next up, we have We have King of the Feckin' Retards, Lord of Tourists, and someone who I have mocked before on here. Think before you sleep. Diamond may not fit into the canon, but I still liked it. Kind of like a spinoff. And making Vegeta in the MC, yeah, that's not going to happen. I don't think he should be, even though Vegeta is my favorite. No, Daima should be treated like a spinoff. That's pretty much what it is. And when it comes to Dragon Ball Z, there are 3 continuities that follow after it. There is GT, there is Daima, and there's Super. Of all 3 of them, Super is my favorite of the 3. Even though I don't think Super really lives up to Z. Daima is probably my second favorite, but by a wide margin. And I don't want to touch GT ever again. If you sat me down and said I had to watch 2 of those again, it would be Daima and it would be Super. I would never go near GT. But they're absolutely different canons, and they should be treated as such. Anyway, back to Think Before You Sleep. So we've talked about this retard before. This jackass who decided to go on a very, very long tirade about how much he hated Frieren and how like terrible of an anime it was, and like at one point in his comments on it, he went so far as to say Frieren isn't a shonen, it's an isekai. First of all, shonen is a demographic. Second of all, Frieren is not an isekai. Third of all, they're not mutually exclusive. You can be an isekai and a shonen. But it proves that Think Before You Sleep doesn't know fuck all about anime. Like, the dude opened his mouth to act like he actually knows what he's fucking talking about and got fucking bitch slapped by the entire internet because his review of Frieren was absolutely horrendous. Now, if you don't enjoy Frieren, I respect it, okay? I'm fine with that. Not everyone's going to like everything. But if you go out of your way to write the most ill-informed review of Frieren, now we have a problem. This is where I'm going to correct the record. Anyway, so in the wake of, so this is going to loop back to a little bit of real world stuff, so I do have to mention this. In the wake of Charlie Kirk's end, because I don't know which word's going to get me demonetized or get me in trouble here. Anyway, in the wake of everything that happened with Charlie Kirk, Think Before You Sleep went on to post this. I spent a lot of time criticizing this show last year, but this scene is rapidly becoming more based over the past few months. So he specifically clips the part out where Frieren starts talking about demons and how they are deceivers, how they, are basically liars by nature, and how they cannot be trusted and must be eliminated because they are dangerous. Well, people rightfully threw everything that he had fucking said right back in his face about this show, saying, like, we don't want you in the anime community because you are clearly just using it to score points, to, act like, to dunk on people with. You don't actually enjoy anime. You're just here to, espouse some sort of faux intellectual superiority. Finish that off and move on. So, a lot of people, regardless of politics, were criticizing him. He then screen capped it and reposted and posted this, saying, looks like all the woke retards found my Frieren post. Notice I didn't say who I was talking about, so why they mad? It ain't woke retards. And first of all, woke is another word that gets used so fucking much these days that I couldn't care less. It wasn't woke people who got on your back for this one. It was fans who rightfully pointed out that you knew nothing about the show, and now you're trying to use it to score points. And this is one thing that I do kind of have a problem with when it comes to free run. A lot of people do really love to use this as some sort of like um commentary point. It's a very divisive anime for whatever reason. Um, because you have a crowd who thinks that it's wrong to portray demons as evil because, well, that means that you think that about minorities apparently. And on the other side of it, you have people who are actually taking Freerin and using the demons as an analog for undesirable groups of people, whether that be religious groups, political groups, or racial groups. There legitimately are those people out there. I will not deny that fact. They do exist. I have seen them. I don't like them. Why? Because I don't even think the demons were ever meant to represent like any sort of like specifically like racially, politically, or religiously outlined group. And this will be part of a video that I'm actually going to do to sort of like do a much deeper dive on Freerin than I have before. Because it all starts with basically Lex Torius and his the moral or the what was it? The moral question that broke Freerin, where he basically goes into this whole thing about how like it's terrible to portray demons as all evil. Well, it's actually a little bit better than this. So, and I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler as to where this goes. So, when it comes to Freerin, it is a very thematic series. One that has a core message of you should appreciate small, ordinary, mundane things that happen in life. Those are the things that are actually worth paying attention to. Those are the things that you should appreciate while they last because they're the ones that you will miss once they're gone. It doesn't have to be special for you to love it. And this is evidenced by a lot of the things that happen throughout Freeman. It explains why you would have a character like Sane join the group for a brief period and then part ways. It explains why there was such a nostalgic element to this, why Freeran does all of these random mundane things, why there's always this reflection on everything that she did with Himmel. Lixtorius gets his entire video wrong because his interpretation of it is that Freeran is about having empathy, which is, you can probably find some points of that in here, but that is not the core message of Freeran. The core message of Freeran is you're supposed to appreciate your life. You're supposed to appreciate life and even the mundane things. And in that sense, the demons serve a very specific purpose. A couple, actually. The most notable ones being they are basically representative of a group of people who cannot see anything outside of that pursuit of power, so to speak. They are driven by one singular thing and nothing else matters to them. They represent the antithesis to what Freerun as a series is supposed to mean. And they also represent kind of what Freeran basically was like before meeting the Heroes Party. She was effectively on the same path as every demon in this story. She had lived her life entirely for the idea of destroying demons. She was singularly focused, ignored everything else up until she met Himmel, and then that journey changed her life. And now she's on this reflective journey, looking back at everything that she did with her friends, and finally being able to appreciate all those stupid things that she thought were inconvenient or pointless or not worthwhile. And that is like the huge thing that everyone gets wrong about Freeman. And this is another point I do want to go and like check. I even wonder if Frieren ever refers to demons as evil. And I want to go through and check the manga because if Frieren never actually says that the demons are evil, there's a whole other can of worms to get into with how to interpret this series. But yeah, this is another element of it. With Frieren, it's not so much that the demons are supposed to be people. It is that they are supposed to be animals. Well, not so much animals as in they're kind of like of a similar mindset to animals. They are predators. They exist to hunt and survive. They exist to do a few things, everything else kind of beyond the point. And that's why we're at where we are. And that's why it frustrates me that people keep bringing up this whole like racial thing and like Lex Torius's video. I've watched it a couple of times, and like I said, the big core thing that he gets wrong. There are like two big issues with that video. One, like I said, he completely gets the interpretation of Frieren wrong, and two, he is already out to prove a point, and you can tell that that influences his interpretation of certain events within the story. Particularly with how he looks at the way Lugner responds to Lenny's defeat. He said that that is concern for Lenny. No, it's more so that he's shocked that Stark, the person that Lenny should have been best against, was actually able to defeat her. He didn't expect that loss. He thought Lenny had it in the bag, and then she vanishes. Stark obliterates her. Otherwise, a very well put together video, and in the basics of it, if he had been more attentive in the basics of it, it probably wouldn't have turned out the way it did. But his insistence on trying to prove a point that he had made in a tweet is ultimately what screws that whole video over. Anyway, Think Before You Sleep is just one of a few people. Oops. Let's go back. Here we go. All right. So, Think Before You Sleep isn't the only jackass that we're going to talk about. Let's add this to the stage and let's talk about these people called the Weeb Crew. Mentally ill anime podcast. They, them. Okay, interesting. Get it? Because there's two of us. Anyway, this is where the dumb shit starts. So, I'm not sure of who this is, but here is basically the take that this group decided that they were going to post to their Twitter.
Much like Christopher Columbus, who went to the Americas, mistook it for India, and called the natives now a term that I'm not allowed to say anymore, and claimed the land for themselves because he was like, well, I discovered it, and fuck all of you guys. This is my place now. And I was like, holy shit, this is exactly what these anime tourists are doing. Much like Christopher Columbus, who went to the Americas, mistook it for India.
Okay. So this is the clip that they decide to air. This is someone that they're, getting mad at. And I don't know who Joey is, but I would assume he's someone popular in, the anime sphere, someone popular enough. The anime man. Okay, cool. Anyway, so this is when you this clip does not sound very good. as it is. But I'm about to show you. This is one of the most uncharitable ways to clip this statement, because it cuts out a broader piece of this whole thing that actually does fucking matter, and it frames it in a little bit of a different way. And friends with this Hassan Piker, I don't really care about that. If I have to, talk about someone, I prefer to talk specifically about them first of all, and to be completely intellectually fair to them, and not try to take everything out of context. I do my best to give everyone the fairest interpretation of what they've said as possible. And I fucking hate Hassan. Yeah, Hassan's a huge anime tourist as well. He's a fucking loser, is what he is. He sits there and foments violence for money. He's a loser. Fucking fight me. Anyway. So this is where we get the rest of the clip. The thing that gives this whole thing context and actually makes it much more understandable. So 24 seconds as compared to the minute 12.
But I remember seeing a comment on like a TikTok or a YouTube video or something where somebody called these anime tourists or at least this new rise or era of anime tourists as the Columbus era of anime. You know, much like Christopher Columbus, who went to the Americas, mistook it for India, and called the natives now a term that I'm not allowed to say anymore, and claim the land for themselves because he was like, well, I discovered it, and fuck all of you guys. This is my place now. And I was like, holy shit, this is exactly what these anime tourists are doing. They're like coming to these.
And there you go. That you see already that there was context before, and now we get context after to what the Weeb crew decided to clip out to try and smear this guy with.
Unfamiliar lands, planting their flag in the soil and going, we own this land now. Out of the way, previous people. Your opinions are irrelevant now because you are old and your time is up and you don't know what good anime is anymore. But at the same time they claim all of this, they don't respect the history of the medium. They don't respect how the evolution has happened. They don't respect the cultural significance behind the evolution of the medium. They just look at it as something like cool and pop and fun.
So there we go. Effectively, his point was that these people do act.
But I remember seeing a comment on.
Oops. There we go. I don't need that anymore. Effectively, his point was, and I agree with this, a lot of newer fans come in and act like nobody else's opinion matters but theirs. And that they act effectively the same way that a lot of people did when the Europeans started expanding across the world, forming their empires and all of that. They would come to areas, lay claim to it, and basically be like, fuck off, natives, we don't need you. And now that's all of human history. But this is a fact. You want to claim that you are anime fans, but then anime fans who were anime fans for long before you are saying, no, you have no respect for the medium. You're just being disruptive and problematic. You're going to destroy everything that we love. And then you get attacked by countless amounts of tourists who are really only there because anime is popular right now and will be gone once it is no longer popular. I.e., after they fucking destroy everything. And to Marcel's point here, I don't really have to care for the guy. But I am committed to being truthful and giving people, credit for being correct on things. And this is a take I genuinely agree with. You don't have to, like the anime man to say he's right here. I don't care. I don't watch his content. I'm not into anything he's saying. Him inviting Hassan Piker onto the podcast. Yeah, I think Hassan probably should stay in his own little isolation zone, trapped with his sycophants and everyone who think he's an actual good streamer. And this is one of the things that I just generally, again, another thing that I am terribly frustrated with. The fact that we've gotten to the point where we have to be untruthful about things. We have to be like insincere in the way we frame things and not give people the benefit of the doubt when they're talking. It's fucking ridiculous that the Weeb crew would take out the worst sounding 24 seconds of that whole segment and post it being like, oh, no, no, don't do that. How dare you? When you get the context of what he's saying, he's not the one making the direct comparison. He's just kind of saying, yeah, I can agree with that. Like they do come in here and act like that. Mhm. And you cannot deny that the colonization of the Americas is a good analogy for the way some people have come into the anime fandom and behaved. I think it is entirely fair to make that analogy. It is not saying that it is on par with everything that just happened. It is not saying that Native Americans suffered as much as anime fans because tourists came in. All it is saying is that the behavior is similar. You are coming into a space that is occupied by people who are native to it and telling them to get lost. So, tourist, colonizer, whatever you want to say. Great terms. Well, that, of course, brings us to the very, very last thing of the night. The very, I get headaches from tourists' opinions, though I suffer a lot. Yeah. Cultural appropriation, yes. Anyway, this brings us to the very last topic of the night. The Erika Yoshida review or interview. The one where we get to talk a little bit about censorship and fan service. So let's get into it. I have it here. Let's bring this up. So this is translated from Japanese by Google. So you're going to have to bear with me if there are things that are just, not quite good. Erika Yoshida, screenwriter of Bozaro and Wings of a Tiger, talks about the harmfulness of anime and expression. Erika Yoshida has been involved in popular works across genres, and it is no exaggeration to say that she is now one of the indispensable authors in any industry. At the same time, she does not seem to feel the stability in life that comes with being a successful writer, saying, rather, I feel constantly worried, or rather, I get anxious when I have free time in my schedule. And she is burning with a strong desire to create. This report covers the event, which was packed with content, including her thoughts on issues facing dramas in anime as a front runner in the scene. Behind the scenes stories on the production of works such as My Bashi Witches, which attracted attention as an unusual magical girl story, and the philosophy she continues to adhere to. So, violence and romance dramas. Okay. Among the works she has produced as she continues to work energetically, we will first talk about. If you're wondering why I'm reading he as she, it's because I'm assuming that this is just a bad translation. And because I'm not sure that Japanese actually has like third person gendered pronouns like this, and the name is Erica, and that's that looks that looks like a woman. I'm just replacing the he with the she. This has nothing to do with anything other than that. Anyway, so among the works she has produced as she continues to work energetically, we will first talk about the drama Futari wa Koisenu, which won the Mukora Kuniko Award. There are some pronouns in Japanese, like personal pronouns like ore and watashi. And I believe there is also a pronoun for you, like kimi and boku. Or kimi and boku are also pronouns, I believe. Um, Either way, I don't think there is a third person gendered pronoun in Japanese. So they don't have a direct translation for he, and they don't have a direct translation for she. So I'm assuming that the machine is just failing in the context here and interpreting it as he. So anyway, I could be wrong on that, but yeah. So the story depicts the life together of a romantic. The story depicts the life together of a romantic, asexual men and women, a sexual orientation that refers to those who have little or no romantic feelings or sexual desires towards others. Um, One of the reasons for this, reasons for launching this project was the drama "If You're a Virgin at 30, Become a Wizard." Seems likely. Featured an aromantic character as an original element not found in the original work. When dramas about love are made, they tend to portray love as the most important thing in life, with themes like you can't grow without love or love can change everything in your life. And I've always wondered if there's a violent element to forcing that way of thinking on people. That's kind of a weird thing to say. Why is it violent to have themes like that? To view it as forcing that way of thinking on people feels like a bit ungenerous. So she said, by introducing a character who may be uh, aromantic or asexual, I decided to add the perspective of someone who doesn't place importance on romance and to think about romance in a way that shows what it means to fall in love, even when romance isn't necessarily important. Interesting. Love is depicted in all forms of entertainment, including anime, dramas, plays, and novels, and is often seen as having supreme value not only in works but also in real life. But she argues that it is merely one of many options. So this is basically the talking point of you don't have to fall in love; it's not important. Personally, I'm married with children, and in society, I'm part of the majority. So I love romantic comedies and love stories. But because I love things related to love, I think I should think about people I don't like or have no interest in it. It is precisely because she loves something that she is able to consider the harmfulness that is possessed or that it possessed. A way of thinking that feels like the route to kindness that runs through her writing. People who think they understand are the worst. After the serial drama Futari wa Koisenu, she was also writing the script for the one-off drama Menstrual Man and His Daughter. What the fuck? What the fuck did I just read? Menstrual Man and His Daughter. As the title suggests, the story revolves around the protagonist, Yukio, a passionate PR man from a sanitary product manufacturer who works as the menstrual man, and his daughter Hana, who has complicated feelings about her father's behavior. Yukio's statement on television, I even know my daughter's menstrual cycle. Oh, God. That, no, okay, that is, oh, okay. No, this is not a translation error. I don't know. Then causes a firestorm of controversy, and Hana left home. But the drama also depicted the violence inherent in such understanding offered by those who are not directly involved. Yukio makes such statements because he wants to appear like he understands about menstruation, even though he's not directly involved. But by making his daughter's private matter public, he is seriously violating her human rights. The people who think they understand are the worst. Okay, this right here is probably one of the most extreme things I've seen in this article so far. First of all, violating her human rights. That's kind of a extreme it's kind of an extreme stance on this. I think violating human rights is going a little far. Being indecent and violating their privacy, sure. But to say it like violating her human rights, that kind of makes it sound a whole lot worse. And then to say that there is a sort of violence inherent to this, I don't really think that is violence. And that may just be a translation problem, but to interpret it or to, if that is like actually what she's saying, that seems kind of sus. Like, why would you view someone being, just kind of like generally rude and untrustworthy to keep like information private as violent? That doesn't check out. So even when the other is 100% understanding and with good intentions, their inference can come across as an attack to the person involved. This film sounds the alarm from the realm of entertainment about a crisis that could be occurring right now, even within society at the smallest unit of individuals. Okay, so Maebashi Witches didn't want to sell itself as sick. One of Yoshida Erika's talents as a writer is to bring to light problems in modern society through the unfolding drama. The original anime Maebashi Witches tells the story of apprentice witches who work hard to solve various problems facing people. The story also highlights the reality of the environment surrounding teenage girls living in modern times. However, in this work, raising such issues and raising awareness did not start out as the main focus of the project. At first, it wasn't even decided that Maebashi Witches would be the setting, and the project started with the idea of a girl who sings will appear. But there were already many works like that, including Love Live. Looking back on the circumstances, she says, when I thought about how to differentiate myself, I decided that rather than making a story like Sports Spirit, where everyone is friendly and healthy and portrays positive and emotional situations, I want to make a story about girls who are so real and down to earth that they might even be seen as having somewhat bad personalities. For example, the character Azusa Nizato has strong likes and dislikes. And in this first episode, she is known for her extreme side, such as when she tells fellow Maebashi Witches member Yuina Akagi that her face annoys me. However, she also harbors a secret, and she cannot be simply described as a girl with a harsh personality and a sickly fashion sense. She is a complex and vivid character for that reason. She is a lovable character. Of course, Yoshida Erika does not have the easy idea that simply introducing a character with a complex will add depth to the story. Rather, she says, I don't want to sell it as being sick. And if I were an author whose work was read just because of my name, I wouldn't want to use that kind of element even as cliffhangers. Okay, next page. Okay, cool. So, just because it's an anime expression doesn't mean anything goes. All right. At this talk event, Erika Yoshida mentioned that she felt particularly strong against the sexual exploitation of characters. Okay, so here's where we get to the bullshit. The sexual exploitation of characters. First of all, the character isn't real, so they cannot be exploited by real people. That's a fucking horrendous take. I don't mind if fans interpret the character however they like, and I think they're free to draw and imagine whatever they want on their own. However, I'm reluctant to see the official side just throwing it all out there as if to say, go ahead and exploit it. This right here is probably one of the, again, this is getting into the dumb territory. This is treating a drawing as if it's a real person, as if it has rights. It doesn't. The seriousness of the problem is clear, especially in the case of works that depict teenage girls, such as Mayabashi Witches, which, if applied to real life, would amount to sexual exploitation of minors. Okay, but this is fiction. This is effectively the video games cause violence argument. That if you do these things in real life, they're bad. Yeah, no fucking shit, Sherlock. They make it seem bigger than it actually was. In the anime, that girl had to shoulder too much responsibility in her family, like caring for younger siblings, and she behaved like a dick because of it. Okay, interesting. So yeah, treating drawings like a real person is kind of fucking dumb. This is fiction. Okay? Again, this is a video games cause violence. If you kill someone in a video game, therefore you could kill someone in real life. Even though we have plenty of psychological studies done by multiple organizations that show that video games do not in fact cause violence. Just because it's anime doesn't mean anything goes. I think it's important to keep in mind that it's a drawing, but it's made by minors. I think this should here say, but it's made of minors. Because the world of anime allows you to draw anything, you must pay close attention to what you draw and what you don't. Having a strong sense of responsibility is a sign of your commitment to expression. So this is basically the moral policing of the content. Boomers, hail Crimson Boomers going to be, hey, Jay, I'm the elite fan. Again, you want to treat the quote unquote exploitation of minors in fiction as a real thing. You're delusional if you think that they are absolutely equivalent. You are delusional if you think that they are linked, at least in any significant way. It is utterly preposterous to say that someone who enjoys a certain kind of fiction therefore enjoys that same thing in real life. By her own logic, that we should be careful in drawing minors because it's like it's like doing it to real minors. By her own logic, she is saying that women who read fantasy about getting graped want to be graped in real life. I do not think that is true. I think that is a horrendous assumption. So here is the next big part that has caused a lot of people to freak the fuck out. So the noise that Bocchi the Rock eliminated in its quest for dominance. So the anime Bocchi the Rock, which made Yoshida Erika's name famous overnight, is also a work that depicts teenage girls. But even in works based on original works like this, she maintains the same attitude as above. In the original manga, Hitori-chan, the main character, Goto Hitori, is naked in the scene where she takes a bath. But in the anime, she is in a swimsuit. If depictions like that were the selling point of Bolzaro, that would be fine. But I don't think that that's the case. And I thought that depictions like that would be distracting when aiming for dominance. This is mind-meltingly stupid. Because let's put it this way. A series like My Dress Up Darling can still portray an amazing story. It can still have really deep points to it, things that actually matter, and have fan service. And I will be the first to admit that I think an over reliance on fan service is a crutch. But to say that like it's a distraction or that it's unhealthy to the anime is ridiculous. That's what she has said. Is the fan service held it back. It was bad for the show in this statement here. She strongly denied that people don't talk like that in real life, including scenes where girls comment on each other's breast size, and had thought that such scenes were common and casual in anime. But Yoshida Erika declared that unless that's the selling point of the work, it's just noise. Again, it is absolutely unnecessary, is what she is saying. That we don't need it, we can cut it out because it doesn't matter. First of all, the original work is fantastic. The original creators are very cooperative. The director, staff, and music team are all working hard. Teruya is drawing amazing pictures, even at the production stage. I thought this was the work that could dominate, but if there are any issues like this, it will stop many people from watching. I don't know. I feel like the more unusual part is the fact that you've decided to make someone bathe in a fucking swimsuit. Like, what the hell is that even supposed to do for the show? Anime has a long history of producing many template expressions, regardless of whether they are right or wrong. It seems that it will become more important in the future to consider whether or not particular expression is appropriate for the particular work at the time. Realistically speaking, there is no way someone's breast could continue to shake unnaturally while playing the guitar. And if that kind of depiction was included, I would hesitate to show the work to my young son. Whether or not I would show it to my own child is an important standard for me. So it's protect the children. You sterilized an anime or a manga by a hentai artist, from what I understand, because you wanted to show it to your child. Even while making such choices, it is important not to lose sight of the main theme, especially when it comes to works based on original works. What I like about Bocchi the Rock is it's not centered around a gloomy kid becoming socially savvy through a band. Hitori has poor communication skills from start to finish, and she acts out of control at the school festival. She doesn't change at her core, but maybe she's been able to change a little bit through the band. Even if there are no dramatic changes, the days go on. The final line, I guess it's time for another part-time job today, is one such depiction. It's not right, let's go, or I don't want to go back to work. It's a line that expresses her feelings of not wanting to go to work, but still wanting to see everyone. We spent a lot of time discussing the script of the very of that, or so that viewers would think Bocchi-chan hasn't changed, or she's really changed. I fear that anime culture will disappear. Maybe because you're out here advocating against a part of it. So effectively, so far we have gotten it's wrong to exploit fictional characters because fictional characters apparently have rights because they are absolutely equivalent to, actual real people. Fan service is just noise. And now on this point, I will say sometimes it can be. Sometimes it can be. I have complained about ecchi that are very gung ho on fan service. I am not opposed to the existence of such anime. I just think that they are not very good quality works. And that's where I will leave my opinion on that. But to say that in this case that the fan service would have been a distraction, and to claim that like there is violence in talking about love or saying that love is necessary for someone. Oh boy. Okay, so the reason she insists on the necessity and appropriate expression of each work is because she feels a special sense of crisis about anime. Even if 99% of people are okay with it, I'm afraid that those 1% of radicals do something. Anime culture, that if those 1% of radicals do something, anime culture could die out. Because there are so many different works, we need to maintain rules, moderation, and ethics. It's fine to have radical works out there that are R18. And if I decided to do it, I would be fully involved in such works. However, in that case, careful consideration must be given to ensuring that minors do not see them. In today's world, where even children can easily access streaming service, she argues that genre categorization and zoning should be given more importance. So basically, you're pawning off the responsibility of managing the child upon other people. That's all fixed if you actually parent your fucking child. Unlike novels or plays, which you choose and by yourself, I think that when it comes to media that is more easily accessible, you have to think more about how you express things. So basically, sterilize everything because you can't be asked to fucking deal with your own kid. Okay. And here we are under the final page. Yoshida Erica, who works on both live action dramas and anime, says that people say that the script for live action dramas are anime like, and the scripts from anime aren't anime like. In the case of live action, factors such as the strong character development in the case of anime, realistic portrayals of psychology that are unusual for anime are thought to be factors. But the person in question says that she has not particularly changed the way she writes. The only thing I change is the way I write stage directions. For example, in the case of live action, no matter how detailed the description, the movements will change at the time of filming. And there are also times where I asked the actors to think upon their own movements. Okay, I don't. When it comes to animation, more detailed instructions are needed to have the drawings done. If I were to write the same scene, I might write something like he says X and places the water while trembling. He places the water while saying X, but he places it carelessly. So the water trembles. It's not so much to make sure it's faithful, but rather to convey how I imagine the character in the scene. So it's fine if it's omitted. That's that's a very, very wild ass line. It's not so much to make sure it's faithful, but rather to convey how I imagine the characters and the scene. So it's fine if it's omitted. That in and of itself boggles my mind. Because if you're adapting something and you don't care if it's faithful, but rather that it is more to something that you would imagine, you're not doing a good job of adapting that work. Because fans of that work will want to see a good interpretation, will want to see things that reinforce what's already there in a different medium. Apparently, there has been a change in the anime industry over the past 10 years in which stage directions in scripts have become more detailed. And even Yoshida Erica, who says she's not the type to write detailed directions in the first place, says that she sometimes writes in parentheses to explain the thoughts behind the lines as they are spoken. I write down the nuances of the play, and I absolutely must not miss. Perhaps this is where the essence of screenwriting, which depicts the character's feelings in detail, lie. So, people whose names cannot be erased from the death note of the heart. Her style of writing scripts across various genres is for. Okay, so this isn't going to go on for much longer. I was starting to wonder, like, how much of them I gotta have to fucking read. I came close to it. So I want to achieve this goal within a year. I'll have the dramas and anime I've written broadcast, the movies released, the plays performed, and the novel and manga published. I came close to achieving this goal once, but the plays were the only ones I couldn't achieve. She says that she was once criticized for not concentrating on one genre, and it is precisely because of the anger and resentment she felt at the time that she now confidently states that my goal is to dominate all genres. Even if someone says something unpleasant to me, I can erase that memory by accomplishing something. But the only way to erase the fact that they told me I should stop writing scripts in various genres is to accomplish something in all genres. So I think I still have a lot to do, and I can't erase the name of the person who said that uh, from the death note in my heart. What the hell? As a parent, there are plenty of anime that don't offer particularly comprehensive ratings. Just take a review on the breakdown. No one thought about the self deletion part of the violence. Sure, no one thought of that as violence because I don't think it's particularly appropriate for kids who can't handle the idea of that for other reasons. There is plenty of other violence in there. I think that, disqualifies someone from taking a young child to that movie as much as I did see people taking young children to that movie. But then again, it is also your responsibility as a parent to make sure you know what your kids are, up to. That is something I firmly believe. And if you can't personally vet for everything and make sure that it is, good, I don't think it is the responsibility of other people to monitor and regulate things for your kids. Ultimately, that's going to be your job. Now, there are certain things that I do think, you know, society should do better at, like maybe not exposing 4-year olds to a bunch of violent media. That would be a good idea. There are certain standards I think that we do need to. And yeah, there's another thing is the ratings are a little bit fucked. Either way, it comes down to if you really are looking at this, it isn't society's responsibility to handle your kids as much as we can wish for an idealistic society where we can or where it's safer for kids. It ultimately comes down to your responsibility as a parent to make sure that they're not getting into anything dangerous. Like with people that um with people that just like let their kids, willy-nilly play Roblox, even though Roblox is probably like a fucking predator hotbed. Anyway, that's beside the point. I don't mean to judge you or anything in your parenting or all that. I'm just giving my opinion on it. So hopefully we're still cool. They could rate better with the rating. Yeah. Yes, people should understand or should have better ideas of, the ratings and stuff. So, ultimate goal and minimum standard. The event concluded with a talk about the kind of writer that Yoshida Erica aspires to be. I want to continue as long as I'm healthy, and I want to continue working on anime, live action films, and writing novels. On top of that, I want to become someone that makes people think if Yoshida Erica is involved, I might as well check out. It seems that this is already happening, but Yoshida Erica continues to write in order to achieve even greater goals. Ideally, I would like people who see my work to think I came across this work and it made me feel lighter. But even if they don't feel that way, I think I need to make all of my works to the point where they can at least think this work didn't save me, but I acknowledge the effort it made to be there for me. And I think that's about it as far as this article goes. So yeah, in all things when it comes to this, basically it is drawings are real people. We should completely ignore anything that isn't is noise, because it doesn't serve a purpose to the anime. And you don't that I don't adapt source material to be accurate. I adapt it to be what I want it to be. That is effectively all the things that this woman has said summed up. And now it does get a little bit more interesting. We have a couple of things to talk about because a lot of people had comments on this, including the one and only Rifuji Namaganote, the creator of Mushoku Tensei. Words like noise or exploitation are also conveniently used in SNS to bash things people don't like. So even if the context doesn't carry that much of a negative connotation, when someone officially involved uses them, it tends to stir up unnecessary controversy. Basically, critiquing the way this woman talked about some of the things. Now, we do have Chibi making his comments here. So, author of Mushoku Tensei calls out the wording used for the anime screenwriter interview of Bocchi the Rock, saying the wording, noise, and exploitation are conveniently used to bash things people don't like. Seems like even Rifujin Sensei is upset about what happened. Rifujin Sensei has also stated in the past that he will write what he wants and refuses to self-censor. Basically, will never bend the knee to censorship. My respect for this man grows immensely. And I do agree with this. He's kind of being nice. He isn't like outright like just destroying the chick. But he is saying like your language in this is far harsher than anything needs to be. Of course, he's not the only one, because apparently, if I'm not mistaken, this is the creator of Gundam, or at least one of the creators of Gundam. I might not really like the term noise. For example, when I'm putting together a compilation or something, cutting parts out is done reluctantly because every part is originally necessary. And I want people to see it all. Yeah, there's a good mentality where like you're trying to be as close to the source material as possible. And we can go to one last point here that we will talk about. So here is comments from the author themselves. So thank you so much. Thank you, Yoshida-san. Every character in Kesoku Band has been given equal spotlight, and everyone's popularity has soared, for which I am truly grateful. I was especially amazed at Nijika's popularity surge from the anime. Wishing you continued success in the future. Yoshida-san is truly amazing screenwriter. Let's all watch Tiger with Wings. So there's that. So this person is using this to say that, well, the original author signed off on all of this. So it's fine. It's fine that that some woman decided to make her own interpretation of Bocchi the Rock and make ridiculous censorship moves like putting Bocchi in a swimsuit in the bathroom because she didn't want to have the character naked. So it's unclear how the original author feels about this incident. The original author of Bocchi the Rock praised the screenwriter multiple times on Twitter. Why would she do that if she was unsatisfied with the anime? That is the point. So Chibi Reviews comes in, crops out the dates of the tweet from 2022 to make it seem recent. Ignores how multiple big names within Japan are upset with censorship. Ignores what it means to have a professional attitude to not be blacklisted from the industry. Yeah, you can see this with Turtle Me. I believe it's Turtle Me, and the beginning after the end, and how horrendous that anime was, and how he was polite the whole way through. Because in like you people don't seem to understand this about like Japanese business culture. It's like very frowned upon to talk bad about people you're working with. So ignores how there's a history of animators within Japan that get mistreated and never speak up until the situation is extreme. The Bocchi author publicly being against the anime production uh, as it was made could get her blacklisted. At this time, the author hasn't seemed to have made a comment on the recent events. So, all things considered, I think the screenwriter did the series dirty unnecessarily. It isn't fair to treat fictional characters like they are real. Because again, these are drawings, they don't exist. It would be one thing if you were doing something disgusting, like, I don't know, say what Shadman did to Keemstar's daughter. Okay? That is a very clear example of something disgusting that someone has done that involves a drawing. You draw someone's daughter as a cartoon character and then explicitly at that. Yeah, that's fucked up. You probably just committed a crime right there. Probably, you most definitely did. But to treat an anime character like they're a real person, and then go on to say that, well, the original author's intent in the show doesn't matter. It is what I believe matters. That is, the most important when adapting something. It just kind of shows the mentality that this person has towards things. They are willing to sterilize what they're working with or manipulate it to fit their own desires. They're not a good person to trust source material to. But that said, that's really all I have to talk about. And we ended up going for an hour and 30 minutes. Nice. So, with that said, I would like to sort of wind things down. Like I said, just keep in mind, there will be no animated Saturday. It's getting moved to Sunday. Same time, just on Sunday. And we'll be talking about stuff like that. Next week, Wednesday, Fictionology Don Don. Be talking about that. I'm going to try and hopefully get a couple of good videos out. I have been kind of in an interesting spot with work. But that said, we are slowly, very slowly crawling our way up towards 1,000. And I would appreciate each and every one of you, if you haven't subscribed, do subscribe. If you haven't liked this stream, please like the stream. And I appreciate every single one of you dudes who comes out and, hangs out. So Rolando, Jeremy, Marcel, Muffler Tape, JM, and any of you who happen to be fucking lurking in the background. Biggles was here at one point. All of your participation, your comments, your viewership, it's all appreciated. With that being said, I hope you have a good rest of your week. I will see you either soon in another video or on Sunday and animated. Peace out.